What is going on YouTube? It is Primitive here and welcome to the finals of the J&J's locals that happened yesterday. This is going to be between D-Brigade on the right, who is a player that I haven't actually played against myself and just recently saw them at the tournament, so a little bit of up and coming, and then my boy Lewis on the left, who is playing Imperial. I do believe he's playing the same list that I am playing, so I do have that list on the channel if you are interested in checking it out. But getting on to it, this will be a little bit interesting of a matchup because although I've been playing a lot of Imperialdramon and a lot of D-Brigade, I don't think I've played this matchup to where I've played D-Brigade versus Imperial on either end. So Commandramon's going to go in, the Pagumon effect will activate, and then going to show that there are no Commandramon, so whiffing there, which is unfortunate, and then going to swing in with the 3K. So already down 2 security on the Imperial side and 2 D-Brigades in trash playing for the Darkdramon. So gonna show the Izzy, gonna gain the memory, but it doesn't matter because Davis will put him at 3 anyway. So both players now having the memory tamer, so there won't be any choking going on. Very early memory tamers usually make games a little bit more even just because memory choking in the early stages can really halt progression. And when you're playing a deck like Imperial where you want to just get up to your Mega as fast as possible, you want to be able to progress as much. The D-Brigade isn't going to be focused around building up as much as they want to be going wide, but making it so you don't get choked is pretty important because one, you can make it so you can play more than one Commandramon a turn if you have the 3-drop or the 2-drop, and then also having the 3 memory is going to make it so that you can play your Darkdramon at any time you want. So Izzy's going to be very valuable to the game plan of D-Brigade. I know that as a D-Brigade player that you want to get Izzy out as soon as possible because this deck really wants to play off 3 memory. Most of your ultimates are going to be 3 to Digivolve. You play multiple 3-drop champions, and then you have your Darkdramon, which is going to play for 3. So we see Imperial starting to go wide here. It has the Vmon in the back too for jamming. Haven't seen any ultimates coming out, so not really threatening any potential Imperials yet. But your board is starting to get so wide and you have multiple champions on board, so you are looking in a pretty decent position. The Mechanorimon is going to be a little bit annoying because it's going to stop down your Vmons and your other little rookies there, but won't really stop down your Grillamon, or if you Digivolve up into an ultimate, you'll be chilling. So going to hit a second Davis. Double hits the Davis once again, so lots of value coming out of these Davises so far, and this is really putting the Imperial player ahead because now we know that the Dino B could very easily come out, which is going to be able to swing through this Mechanori and start getting those checks that you want to see, but you're going to want to build up these rookies. The Mechanori really just shuts it down, so here comes the Dino B coming out. Can go ahead and swing into the Haguru, which is going to do piercing and jamming, hitting a Commandramon. So I lost track of how many D-Brigades are in trash, but I do believe that Darkdramon is online, or there's only needed one more until Darkdramon is online, which is lightly irrelevant right now just because your opponent's not going to be able to get the Imperialdramon player down to 0 security, especially with the 2 Grizzlies on board. So although the Darkdramon may be live, it's not super important unless you want to go Darkdramon into Zwart to Feet and pop one of these Davises. Now we're going to see the Babungamon in Raising, which is very interesting because you can just de-Digivolve one of your Pyildramons if they go into it. You can't de-Digivolve the Dino B because it is an 8 cost and Babungamon is a cost of 7 or less, but that can hit Pyildramon if they do bring a Pyildramon out. So if you're the Imperial player, you're going to want to keep that in mind, that the Dino Bs are safe, so if you want to keep going into Dino Bs, you're good, but Pyildramons are just going to be threatened to be de-Digivolved here. Goes into the Pyildramon now, so like I said, that can be de-Digivolved, but surprisingly didn't swing with the Dino Bmon. You are getting to get pretty free checks there, and it's unlikely that they go and get rid of your Dino B next turn, even if they Digivolve into an ultimate on top of their Numamon or their Mechanori, or even their Babungo, whichever one that they want to go into. It doesn't really matter because you have, what, 3 blockers on board, so everything's safe. So do think you could have swung with the Dino B there and got a little extra aggression check-in, but now the Babungamon can Digiburst too and de-Digivolve the Pyildramon if they want, but then they don't, which is very scary because now you can just Digivolve the Imperialdramon on top of the Pyildramon and have multiple swings. Now, the tie on the other end is actually going to make this a little bit weird because the Sealdramon is going to be 7k, so you can't actually swing in with your Pyildramon or your Dino B there without it potentially trading into the Sealdramon and dying. So I understand not swinging there. You could have still probably swung and just had one of them die off, which would have gotten rid of one of the blockers, and then you would have been able just to Digivolve anyway. But we're going to see them just go up into Omnimon, keeping it very safe Now, as the Imperial player, you're kind of just chilling right now because you have multiple blockers on board. The Mechanori can't attack, so you can't necessarily die this turn. You just have too many security and blocks on board for your opponent to go through. So the D-Brigade player is going to have to find something to bring this out here. They're very, very far behind. Even something like an Ultimate Flare, although would be slightly helpful, only really gets rid of 2 Digimon on board. And then you still have multiple swings, including a piercing jamming check, which, as we do know, can be shut down by the Imperialdramon, but the more blockers you get rid of, the better. Going to see a blocker Agumon come out, so setting up some more defense, and then just a Commandramon coming out. So going wide themselves now has 5 attackers, unless you Digivolve with the Mechanori, so they're going to block and unsuspend, just getting the draw with the Vmon there. I can understand why you would do that. Sometimes you just need to draw and get that cycle going, even if it means losing one of your Digimon. But if they did go through, let it go through, and you were to go into Imperial there, then you would have been able to unsuspend. So it does play around your opponent potentially misplaying and letting it go through and let you unsuspend. So I can understand it, but you are going to have to start being a little more careful, just because your opponent does go wide. Like, I thought the Imperial player was just very far behind, but then now the D-Brigade player just looks like they are starting to go really wide, going to be able to promote another Commandramon and have yet another swing to go in. So the Babungamon actually has been pretty sick so far because it de-digivolved one of the blockers, which is actually going to put them in a pretty decent position. So that's pretty interesting. The Takumi does come out. I'm not 100% sure how much that will help, considering that there's only 1 rookie on board. There will be 2, and they'll be able to swing and pay the memory, but since you just put them at 7, let's see, so you'll be able to block 2 of them, and then they'll be able to attack twice unless they Digivolve on top of the Mechanori. So if they Digivolve on top of the Mechanori, they do have the swings to go in. The 2 Commandramons could swing, which would get blocked off by the 2 Grizzlymons, and then the Numamon could swing, and the Imperialdramon could swing, and then you could Digivolve the Mechanori, and then have something that can attack, and then go in for game. So looking like you do have the outs to win this game as the D-Brigade player, even though I felt like you were pretty far behind. It's just been a very radical shift. Going to Digivolve into the Tankdramon on top of the Numamon instead of the Mechanorimon, which is very interesting because now you don't have the memory to pay the Imperialdramon attack, so you'll have to attack with the level 5 first. You're going to pay with the Commandramon. It's going to die. Reveal the top 3. Going to hit the 5k, so it's one of the better ones to hit there. And then Tankdramon effect, going to go ahead and hit yet another 5k Commandramon. So if you don't win this turn or don't die next turn, then you definitely have the game to win when you come back on your next turn. But like I said, if they Digivolved that Tankdramon in top of the Mechanorimon, I think they just won unless the opponent hit Kakaida's Breath. Swinging with the Tankmon, going to swing now. They have 2 blocks. Now, with that security check shown, we know for sure that if they just Digivolved the Tankdramon on top of the Mechanori, it would have been game here, because then you would still have one of the Commandramon, the Numamon, and the Imperialdramon unsuspended. You would swing the Commandramon, pay a memory, swing with the Numamon, they would block both, and then the Imperialdramon would be able to come in for game. So a little bit of a miss sequence there. Could have definitely won on this turn, and now Mechanori is the only thing that's keeping them alive. It was the card that could also have won them the game last turn, but it's also going to be the card that just likely keeps them alive this turn. The Grizzlymon cannot swing over Mechanori. It is at 7k because of the tie. So if they swing with the Grizzly, it'll be able to block and then unsuspend. Pagumon's effect going to activate there on deletion. So you swing here, they block with the Imperialdramon, and then you need to Digivolve into an ultimate. Yeah. So you Digivolve into an ultimate on top of one of the Grizzlies, and then you swing, and then they'll be forced to block with the Mechanori, which you'll be able to then swing in with the Imperialdramon for game. So if they don't have an ultimate here, it could be a problem, but I do believe I see a Dino B just right on the top of the hand. So if they Digivolve the Grizzly on top of that, swing, and then just full swing, they do have game, but I'm not sure if they're seeing that here. See what they decide to go for. Going into Lobomon, so I think that was just effectively a throw because they're going to be able to block and then unsuspend. Yeah, I don't think they thought that through 100% there. And I think this is just going to be game for the D-Brigade player. I don't think there's anything that they can do on the D-Brigade or on the Imperial end to win this game here. They can Cocytus Breath up. The Tankdramon, now they're at 6, but then they're just going to promote. And again, if they just Digivolve on top of the Mechanori, it's game over. The same position that we were at last turn, so they get another redemption to see if they see it this turn. I do also believe I see a Darkdramon in hand, so whichever way they want to go about this is going to work. Swing with the Tankdramon, they're going to block, and then they, like I said, you could Digivolve on top of the Mechanori here, but they're just going to play the Darkdramon. There is definitely more than enough 5 D-Brigades in there. Now, getting into game 2, the D-Brigade player is going to be up 1-0, but as we saw with that first game, there were some very questionable plays those last couple turns. Both players essentially just lost games that they had won on board. Could see a little bit of tournament nerves coming in now. I'm not sure if either of these players have really made the finals too often, so potentially just could have some nerves going on and just missing out some on the plays, which is fine, but as we could see there was a little bit of missequencing, so gonna see if they can pick that up here. The Imperialdramon is just gonna get hard played turn 1, so as somebody who's played a lot of Imperial, I'm gonna have to assume that that means that there is not a champion in hand, and you just gotta get up into that Imperial here. So the opponent was able to develop a little bit, nothing too crazy. Gomamon's gonna live the 1k check. The Tai is back on board, which was a card that was very influential in the next match. The Tai combined with the Mechanorimon really shut down the Imperial quite a bit at the end, just because they weren't able to really swing over it in any way with what they had on board. You just have to go into that ultimate to get over that, and even then it was able to trade in there. Both the Sealsdramon and the Mechanorimon boosting up into 7 was quite the issue. But we have the Imperial out now with the Imperialdramon in back, so you are looking a little bit lower on checks, but you're not too bad as long as you get a blocker right now. But on the opposite end, if you don't have a blocker, then your opponent just has a very high chance of being able to swing in for game unless you hit a Cocytus in security. So we're going to have to see not a blocker, just going to have to Cocytus a 2-drop into hand to make it so that they don't have the 3 swings to go in for game next turn. Now this is pretty influential because now if the D-Brigade player doesn't win this turn, then there's a very high chance that the Imperial player is just going to be able to come back and with the 3 swings it has on board be able to just win the game. So, but that's actually going to be irrelevant. Already has 4 D-Brigades in the security, which means you're able to play the Darkdramon for 5. They were at 6 memory, so Darkdramon's going to come out for 5, go in for rush for game, and the D-Brigade player is going to take it 2-0. So that second game was much quicker than the first game, much more one-sided, but as we saw with the first game, there was a little bit of mishaps, but regardless, it was a good match to see. It's good to see somebody else coming through with D-Brigade and getting some results. So with that being said, if you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe because I'll be having Digimon content coming to you all the time. But with that being said, I hope you have a great day and peace out.